Hi everyone, it's Emily, and for those of you who are new to this channel or have never seen a video of mine, this here is my service dog, Wesley. He is a multi-purpose service dog because he is learning to be medical alert and he's medical response for psychiatric reasons, and he's also medical alert and response for some cardiac conditions I have, which are obviously not psychiatric. If you saw the title of this video, you probably know a little bit of what it's going to be about, but yes, it's a little bit of clickbait because I know that people who may not qualify for a service dog are probably going to click on this video in hopes of trying to scam the system or just have a dog with them everywhere they go. But newsflash, it's not fun. It's not cool. It's not fun at all. So this video is going to be very informative. Going to have a lot of information, but it's going to be blunt. It's not going to kind of skim over things. It's going to be the honest process. It's going to be the honest process. So first things first. To qualify for a service dog, you have to be disabled. Not all illnesses or disorders are disabilities. That is a key statement right there. I'm going to put it right here, I think. Please remember that. Another key statement to go along with that is that one person might be disabled by something and you may have the same thing, but that doesn't mean you're automatically disabled by it. If you've taken a look in the service dog community, you've probably seen a lot of things referencing the ADA, which is the American of Disabilities Act. I'm reading this next bit word for word from the ADA. An individual with a disability is defined by the ADA as a person who has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities, a person who has a history or a record of such an impairment, or a person who is perceived by others as having such an impairment. First thing is first when considering a service animal. By the way, service animals by federal law can either be a dog or a miniature horse. First things first, go to a medical doctor. I say medical doctor as in a doctor who has a medical license because, as you know, or as you may not know, psychologists, therapists, counselors, they do not have a medical degree. Many of them are referred to as doctors because they have either a PhD or a PsyD, but this does not make them a medical doctor. If you're considering a psychiatric service dog, go to a psychiatrist. They are well qualified. And for any other medical condition or condition you might think is a disability, refer to your other doctor for non-psychiatric conditions. But there is a little note to be added to this. A service dog should not, please don't do this, but they should not be used as a first treatment option. I'll get into more brief pros and cons about them later because I want to make a video about pros and cons, but it should not be a first treatment option. So these doctors that you are going to, you should have had them, you should have been seeing them for a decent amount of time so they truly understand how your illnesses work. Please do not just start seeing a doctor. Don't just go for 2 visits and say I need a service dog, please get me a service dog, because that is not the right way to do it. There are too many people taking advantage of the system, of how it works, and it really hurts people like me, like other legitimate handlers who depend on these animals literally for our lives. You've talked to your psychiatrist or other medical doctor, and they say no. They don't think you would qualify, or the dog wouldn't work out for you, or the horse. This could be for a few reasons. One, your conditions, how severe they might seem, are either not disabilities, or a service animal may not be able to mitigate them. To go more in depth about that, a service dog can help with certain conditions such as depression and generalized anxiety disorder. However, if you only have one of these conditions, as opposed to having these conditions amongst others, these tasks may not be able to substantially help you. A service dog may not be worth it. The pros may not outweigh the cons. While service dogs are amazing beings, they are simply unable to mitigate certain conditions. There are limited tasks for these conditions and others as well. Look at the bigger picture when choosing treatments. So you talk to your doctor, and your doctor says, yes, you would qualify. Like, why don't we start looking into it? This does not mean go out, get a puppy, get the next puppy you see, and boom, service animal. No, that's not how it works. This is not something that should be taken lightly. This is not something you want to rush into. The next step after talking to your doctor and them saying yes is research. Research. Do all of the research you can. A lot of people, especially like in schools, a lot of teachers, a lot of professionals, they say don't go to the internet. The internet is not always right. Yes, the internet is not always right, but also it does have a lot of amazing information, especially social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr. A lot of handlers go to these social media platforms to document their life and to connect with others in similar situations. So I would recommend Googling or just, web searching articles about service animals. Go onto Instagram, go onto Facebook, research these and look at the people's lifestyles, read up on web articles about people's experiences, look at training, all of this stuff. Research trainers. Also start researching between program dogs, privately trained dogs, as with professional private trainers, or if you are going to owner train. One thing to keep in mind briefly is that, especially on social media such as Instagram, people generally only post the positive things and the things they want people to see. They're not going to post anything that embarrasses them or like really troubles them. So just keep that in mind. One thing I forgot to add, or like a couple things I forgot to add, that when you're doing research, first, research the ADA and service animal laws. You will notice that service dogs are not federally required and have no federal registration, certification, any of that. So I recommend, I'll link them down below, but read the paper on service animals and the ADA, which comes directly from the ADA, and also the FAQs about service animals published by the ADA. And you should find out by reading these documents is that they have no registration. So if you Google service dogs and you see service dog registry of America or the USA or register your service dog, don't do this. They're illegal. They're actually illegal. You've done all this research. Next is time to kind of weigh your options with the different types of service dogs and how they're trained. Program dogs come to you about like 70 to 100% trained. You can get them anywhere from 1 to 2 years old because service dogs take 1 to 2 years to train fully. And no, there's no way of getting around this. You can't get a dog and have it fully trained at 6 months. So program dogs are great because it takes a lot of the stress of training off the handler. And the dog's not gonna wash. Washing means pulling a dog from service work because of one or more qualities that deem inappropriate for service work. The cons of program dogs are that they're very expensive. They can be anywhere from like $10,000 to $40,000. Another con is that there is a chance that the dog won't work for you. Especially careful for medical alert dogs because medical alert dogs alert to usually scent changes, like hormone changes. They can smell that. Heart alerts, they can smell the change in heart rate, stuff like that. But they are amazing dogs. Privately trained dogs are dogs where you just use a private trainer to help train them. Usually this is used in addition to owner training. Wes is owner trained with professional help. We had an obedience trainer who helped a little bit with scent work in the way that he gave me techniques to use because he helps train the police dogs that will like smell an article of clothing or anything like a criminal dropped and use that to track the person. So he helped with that. I think this is the best option if you can afford it, but that's just my opinion because you get a big part in training your service dog. They know you, they learn you, but also you have help. you have someone or multiple people that help you through it, that know what they're doing, that can help when things get rough. That's a pun. Yeah, it is pricey. It is pricier than owner training completely on your own. Owner training is when you usually completely train your service dog. This is the most inexpensive option, but you do have the highest chance of your dog washing, especially if you're a first-time owner trainer. I'm not saying that it can't be done, but you just have to go into the situation knowing the risks you're taking. Again, washing means your dog has to be pulled from service work. If your dog is any type of aggressive, human aggressive, dog aggressive, food aggressive, toy aggressive, reactive, dog reactive, if your dog's overly anxious, not going through a fear period, but your dog is actually just very anxious, even as they get older, even after they desensitize, if your dog just is a barker and you can't seem to work through that and you've gotten help, any of these and some more are reasons you should wash your dog. Please be aware of the risk of owner training. So after research, and this is not like you take 24 hours and research, take weeks, take a few months, take years if you have to. I took a few months. Please make sure you are aware of most things about the service dog community. For example, you should know that if you struggle with social anxiety or social phobia, anything of that nature, a service dog is not recommended for you, because service dogs, service animals bring so much attention and so much contact with strangers or with people you know. It's really awful, actually. And just to go a little more in depth about that, yeah, it's fine when someone comes up to you and says, oh, you have a beautiful dog. But what those people don't realize is that you're getting that comment every single place you go by 4 to 10 people at every public outing. And that's just the nice comments. I was in Marshall's last week, and all 3 of the cashiers stopped what they were doing to look at Wes waiting in line with me. And I had turned around because the lady behind me was trying to call to Wes, and I turned back to face the front, and 2 of the cashiers were on their phones taking pictures of me and Wes. Some people may not understand why this is so uncomfortable, but one of my things I do struggle with are different anxiety disorders, and that's not helpful. That makes it really uncomfortable, and especially if I'm not having the best day health-wise, I don't want my picture taken by strangers. I don't know who's getting that picture. I don't want to have to turn around and stop what I'm doing and say, please don't call for my dog, because even though I'm gaining confidence doing this because I have to protect my rights and I have to protect Wes and Wes has to be able to do his job, I feel bad. I do feel bad. I feel bad that I have to turn around and some person has to be told they can't pet a dog. And while I shouldn't feel bad because it's my right and Wesley is my medical equipment, I feel bad that I tell people things they don't want to hear. And that's something obviously I have to get through, but please, 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 please consider this if you are considering a service dog. So, you've done research, you know the trainings, you know supplies, you know how different people have gotten through life with a service dog, and you've decided that it's still a great option for you. Next thing to do is to start looking at breeds. I'm going to do a whole separate video about different breeds and why I chose a golden doodle, so that's probably going to come up within the next few weeks. But very briefly, different breeds make better service dogs than others. I'm going to compare, like, right now, Golden Retriever is one of the best breeds for service work, comparing that to a Dashed Hound. There's nothing wrong with Dashed Hounds. I think there are a few service dogs, but certain breeds have less of a chance of washing out, and they have better temperaments for the work. So amongst the top breeds for service work are Golden Retrievers, German Shepherds, Poodles. Those would be the top three, and then as like a tier down, they're Labrador Retrievers. Golden Doodles are definitely becoming more popular. And I think off the top of my head, those are the most common. And Border Collies. Border Collies are used a lot. But again, with different breeds, there are different things you have to be careful with. And for example, like German Shepherds are not recommended usually for psychiatric work. And again, more information on this will be in my next video. So you picked a breed you want. Where are you going to get it? The most popular place to get a service animal prospect is breeders. I would recommend, and I know a lot of other people recommend, getting a puppy and starting from puppyhood. Start right away for service dog training. This doesn't mean having an 8-year-old puppy and starting to train scent alerts or anything like that. This means that you have a puppy and you start from day one with obedience and certain expectations of what they can and can't do. Because if you have a year-old pet, while it can be done, they are used to a certain lifestyle, and pet dogs, their lifestyles are extremely different from service dog lifestyles. Wesley was adopted with the intention of being my service animal, so right away he couldn't bark. I had to correct him. He barked, he whined. I have to correct him because that is unacceptable as a service dog, especially because in homes it's okay. Dogs are allowed to bark in homes, really, you don't have to wash them for that, but they can't be barking or whining in public, and especially because right now I am on medical leave, but I was dorming away at my college, and I will be dorming away again, of course, with Wes. He can't be barking in the dorms a lot. He can't be whining. He can't do those things. You have breeders, you have shelters, and you have pet stores. Breeders are the most recommended, as I'm sure you can probably gather by yourself, but not backyard breeders. Stay away from backyard breeders. But breeders usually produce the best dogs health-wise, but they are a little pricey. Many people use the rescue/shelter route, and it does work out for some people, but others it doesn't. It gives a higher chance of washouts just because shelter dogs are usually a little bit older, but the main problem is that when you get a dog from a shelter, you often do not know what happened in their past life. You don't know what traumas they experience. You don't know what their triggers will be. You don't know any of that. So I'm not saying you can't go to a shelter if that's the best option for you. I would just say be cautious. Again, with pet stores, they're the least recommended because a lot of pet stores hold their dogs in very, very bad conditions. They're all put together in the same cubicle. They're around their own feces and urine all day. You don't know where the dogs came from, even though they're puppies. So just be careful with everything. And puppies also, you should temperament test them. I use the Volhard temperament test. I did it myself. I was researching it all online. I got some tips from one of my friends. I tested about 9 or 10 puppies. So temperament test your dogs for service work. I recommend checking out the Volhard temperament test. I will try to link a website down below. Okay, finally, you've done all this research. You know where you're getting your dog. It's all set up. Everything's great. You've got all of your supplies. You've got everything. But if you've done all of this research and all this testing, you did research on breeds, you did research on training, everything's set to go, you have your dog lined up, find support from others. I know many cases where parents are not supportive or friends are not supportive. find a community, find a group, find anyone that will give you support, because this is one of the hardest things you're gonna do. And yes, it's an amazing thing that will hopefully help your disability, and it's gonna make you more independent and all of this, but it is a crazy hard process. It's usually, this is not so much for program dogs, but going through the training process is one of the most difficult things you're gonna do. But also with program dogs and owner-trained and privately trained dogs, this is a huge life adjustment. It is honestly going to change every aspect of your life, and please be aware of that. You need people who love you and support you to help you get through this. If a friend or someone isn't supportive of you or talks down to you about it, you don't need them in your life. A service dog is meant to help a handler with a disability. They're supposed to mitigate disabilities. They're supposed to give you your independence back. If I did not have Wes, I would not be going away and dorming at the school I love so much again. I would have to stay home and commute to a local school, which is great for people. That's what people want to do, but it's just not what I wanted in my life. I am severely limited, and I know you look at me and people don't think that, but if I did not have Wes, I would not be going back to my college in the fall. And of course, some people don't get it, and that's not my fault. It's not my job to educate everybody. I can educate people. I've obviously educated my friends who care enough because they want to know, because they love me, and they want to know enough about this thing that has changed my life and has made it all the more better. But if someone's refusing to listen to you, it's not your job. There are so many people who are willing to support you and love you and help you through this journey. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please comment below. This is gonna begin a little mini series, I think, on my channel about, like, obviously how to get a service dog, how to begin training once you get the dog, different breeds, why I chose Wesley, just all of that information. So yeah, I hope you liked it. Leave any video requests down below, and yeah.